A very good morning and an incredibly warm welcome to all of you. My name is Aditya Bahadur. I'm the director of the Red Cross Red Crescent Climate Center. And on the behalf of our organization and our wonderful partners that include the Food and Agricultural Organization, the International Institute for Environment and Development, the Climate Justice Resilience Fund, the World Bank, the ACT Alliance, the Adaptation Research Alliance, and the LDC Climate Change Initiative, a very, very, very warm welcome to D&C Days 2024. All of us have been looking forward to this day. Through the week, I've met so many people who've said, oh yeah, I'm coming to the D&C Days, and I'm coming to the D&C Days. So I'm sure more and more people are going to be streaming in through the day, causing a little bit of a headache for the registration desk, but that's okay, that's part of the game. So what are the D&C Days? First of all, they are a home for all of us, the adaptation and resilience community. It's easy to forget a time when adaptation was barely mentioned at the conference of parties, and the history of the D&C Days is the history of adaptation and resilience, moving out of the margins and into the mainstream of discussions on how to tackle climate change. It is a space for exploration, for experimentation. I'm really hoping that through the day, you're going to see very few PowerPoint presentations. You're going to see very few panel discussions. You're going to see very few tables with statistics. Instead, I'm hoping you're going to hear a lot of challenging ideas. You're going to hear a lot of inspiring thoughts. You're going to hear a lot of scintillating narratives and passionate arguments. Crucially, the D&C Days is a platform for finding friends, allies, and fellow travelers in our collective march towards a more climate resilient world. It is a community in its truest sense. We have a large number of sessions across 4 parallel tracks today. I'm sure all of you have already made your selections, but we will also have people leading those tracks, pitching their wares in a few minutes to convince you why you should attend their track. We will have challenging conversations on decolonizing finance, accountability, a track on game-changing ideas for climate adaptation, and an out-of-the-box track that will be bizarre, creative, and inspiring. A few quick housekeeping rules. Number 1, French interpretation is available for this session. If you need French interpretation, please go to the comms desk and at the back of the room and collect a receiver.
Si vous avez besoin de l'interprétation en français, allez au fond de la salle, s'il vous plaît, pour la casque. Merci.
We will be filming sessions today, including this one. Please let the front desk know if you don't want to be filmed. In the event of a fire, please follow the green fire exit signs. And there's some more information printed on your tables, and Amy will come and give some more information before the coffee break. Crucially, a plea from the interpreters, and I should also remember this, let's all speak a little slowly so interpretation can be effective. All right, moving swiftly on to the second part of this opening plenary. I am delighted and honored to welcome Ham Khan and Eugenia Rojo, who will take us on a bizarre journey to inspire our thinking for the day. They are part of Hamish Bai and are joining us all the way from Argentina. Over to you.
Hello. Good morning. I'm Alan Bigelow from Solar Cookers International. Thank you for this opportunity to ask a question. I'm delighted. My question, well, I work in the clean cooking space, solar thermal cooking. You can talk about that more later, but the question is that we have a lot of climate solutions. There's a lot of desire to implement these climate solutions. How can we orchestrate the rapid implementation of all of these climate solutions in the places that they need to be implemented?
That is a wonderful question. That is a wonderful question. Vanessa has listened attentively. She now goes into trance.
And the third eye open.
And in the crystal ball.
The fog start to clear.
And here comes the answer. Here is the answer to your question, and it is. I don't know. Well, she has an answer to every question. It's good that you didn't have to pay. But there is now the chance for a second question. Come on, another really good question like the first one. That's an easier question. No, more complicated. The more complicated, the better.
Maybe.
Something you don't know the answer to.
It looks like you have all the answers already.
You have all the answers. One more question. Here on this table. Would you like to ask a question? Would you like to ask a question? Yeah.
There's a question over here.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Zone Zero from Cameroon. So my question to Vanessa is, with the negotiations around the new finance goal, do you think parties are going to keep to their commitments?
That is a very deep question. Vanessa goes into trance once again.
And the third eye open.
And in the crystal ball.
The fog start to clear.
And the answer is, I don't know. The answer is in you or in GPT-4. Or the Bible. Que bizarro. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ham and Eugenia. That was amazing. And to those of you who haven't been to a D&C Days before, welcome. This is what the day is about. Great. Now it is my pleasure to welcome our keynote speaker for the morning. And we have the fantastic Laurel Kivuyo with us. She is from the Climate Hub, Tanzania, the founder and executive director of the Climate Hub, and she is the National Youth Environment Ambassador for her country. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. So I grew up in the northern highlands of Tanzania in a very famous community known as the Maasai community. And I witnessed firsthand the struggles of living with our very own environment. Oftenly women and children walked for miles in search for firewood for cooking, water for household use, and even pastures for our cattle. As a child, I did not understand the weight of this journey, but as I grew up, it came to my attention that this is a part of a larger crisis: environment degradation, inequality, and even very broken systems. And it is with this urgency that brought me with a lot of questions, that why a beautiful community like mine, with a lot of wisdom and resilience, have to bear blunt impacts of climate change and yet receive the least amount of funding to actually adapt. And this is why I established Climate Hub Tanzania, to empower local solutions that are made by my community. It's a youth-driven initiative that champions the use of already waste in our environment, creating alternative source of energy. We convert paper waste into making briquettes. So the truth is, climate finance is oftenly and still very colonial in nature. Climate finance decisions are often made in very beautiful, bigger rooms, very far away from those communities that are actually experiencing vulnerable impacts of climate change. For my community, accessing climate finance is like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro without even a gear. For example, my organization, Climate Hub Tanzania, we have empowered over 300 women creating alternative eco-friendly briquettes. And these women are not only climate champions, but they are the real positive agents of change, even with the little resources that they have. And then when we scale up, when we want to scale up our innovations, we are often, we're often facing a lot of frameworks, a lot of proposals, a lot of reports that are actually made with the people who are not even knowing what we are actually experiencing. And I think decolonizing climate finance needs to actually shift power and resources to those at the front line of fighting climate injustices. So next year, we're actually celebrating a decade of Paris Agreement, but what are we exactly celebrating? Are we celebrating another decade of promises while emissions are still rising and the vulnerable communities are still paying the price? I think accountability is very important. We need to be transparent with our systems. Governments, philanthropies, and even private sectors have to be accountable, and transparency is non-negotiable. We need to prioritize accountability and equity over red tape. In Tanzania, the country that I come from, adaptation is not just adaptation, but it is a necessity. From transforming waste that is already around us into alternative sources of energy is not just a solution, it is a lifeline. But here is the catch. Why are these local solutions never scaling up? This is because the global frameworks does not acknowledge the local solutions in the local communities. And imagine if we flip the script, instead of looking for big solutions from top-down institutions, why shouldn't we scale up the local solutions that are already existing and working for the local communities? We cannot do this alone. And I think it needs a power of collaboration and unity amongst us in this room. And that is why the D&C Days are very important and very personal to me. Let's make this COP not another COP of pledges. Let's not make this DC Days not just a day of writing a lot of commitments on paper, but actually making the dreams into reality, the visions into reality. As I stand here today, I'm not only standing alone, but I'm representing so many other young people from vulnerable and indigenous communities from not only Africa, but the global South, who are actually fighting for their future. Let's make sure that the Paris Agreement is actually not on a paper, but something that we are actually going to work upon. Thank you so much.
Loretta, Noel, thank you so much for those pithy and inspiring words. Quite worrying words as well. Are we going to be celebrating a decade of broken promises at the end of next year? Really, I feel a burden of responsibility. Thank you for urging action and urgent action with your fantastic words. Great. To keep the session dynamic, I'm now going to invite my colleague, Bettina Coel, who works with the Red Cross Red Crescent Climate Center, to lead an exciting interactive session around the tables where you're seated. Bettina, over to you.
Good morning. Can I ask of you, who speaks Azerbaijani? Very good. One person. And another three. Please join me here on stage. Soon we're going to turn this around, but because at least you'll speak one word, or maybe two, or maybe even three. Pronunciation does not need to be perfect, but we will really encourage you all to say it to yourself, even better to your neighbor at your table. You ready? Yes? Worried? All right, very good. We'll hear the first one. It's an obvious one. Good morning. Who knows how to say good morning in Azerbaijani? One person, of course. Thank you. Teach us. How do we say good morning in Azerbaijan?
In Azerbaijani, good morning, we say sabahınız hayır.
Say it again slowly.
Sabahınız hayır. Sabahınız hayır. And one more time. Sabahınız hayır.
On the occasion, some of the very friendly locals do something lovely and amazing for you, and you'd like to thank them. What do you say?
Teşekkür ederim.
Slowly and clear. Yes?
Teşekkür ederim.
Okay.
Teşekkür ederim. Teşekkür ederim. Teşekkür ederim.
We go slow. Let me see if I can repeat. Teşekkür. Can you say teşekkür? This is more important than good morning, right? This is really how we are gracious in our host country. Teşekkür. And then
Ederim.
ederiç. There is a little ch at the end. Is that right? Ederiç. Do you remember the first word? Teşekkür. Ederiç. Okay, now the whole thing. You can do it. All of you. Teşekkür ederiç. Does it pass? Very good. And when we leave, we are gracious and we say goodbye. This is for later today, for not now, but we are preparing. Would you like to teach us how to say goodbye? Bye, as simple as possible.
So when we want to say goodbye, we should say sağ olun. Sağ olun. Sağ. Sağ olun. Sağ olun.
All right, can you say it? Sar olun. Is it an L? It's with an L. Sar olun. It's a bit more subtle than I can manage. Thank you so much. And thank you is?
Teşekkür ederim.
Teşekkür ederiz. Do you have it? You can write it down in the words of your choice, phonetically, so you will not forget. And I would say thank you to our amazing volunteers. You see these volunteers here. They're from the university in Baku. They are here to guide you, to support you, but they're also here to learn. And so please have conversations with them. They're also our future. Thank you for being here on stage. And so now at your table, please say in the language of your heart. That could be your mother tongue or a language that you have learned. Good morning, and feel really confident that you can say it well to the people at your table. Say good morning to everyone, make eye contact, and greet whoever is at your table. All right. You have very many words to say good morning, I can see. Now, I see clearly there is an appetite to talk. We will talk just now, a little more. There's a big urgency to talk in your mother tongue, I see. Thank you very much. Very good. Thank you. Now, here comes the next task. If someone at your table is still talking, can you gently ask them to come to an end? Very good. Some languages have a very, very, very long way of saying good morning. We are very glad you didn't teach us those words. Very long indeed. So now, this morning, some of you, and Haman or Henya, if you can, and Catalina, if you can go around with some of the cards. Some of you this morning got a card. Can we just see who didn't get a card? A card with an image on it. Can you raise your hand if you want one? And Haman or Henya and Catalina, if you can ask people to pick one. We asked you to think about a question related to adaptation. And this morning, we would like to ask you at your table to think about your question. Look at the card. If it's a new card, have a moment to look at it. And then introduce yourself around the table with your name, where you're from. And if this card means anything to you, there's no need to reveal if it's very personal. Share what you'd like to share. A thought about adaptation. We only have, as Pablo would say, 4 minutes or less. So if you have 8 people at your table, do the maths and make sure everyone has a chance to briefly introduce him or herself at the table. Enjoy. All right, and thank the people at your table. Thank you. We hope that during the D&C Days today, I will challenge you. Okay, let's. All right. All right. Thank you. These cards that you have received, if you would like to keep your card to inspire you, you're welcome to take your card home. If you do not want your card for whatever reason, please leave the card here on the front table or on your table, and we'll collect them and use them again later. These cards were co-produced with a whole lot of people who gave ideas and thoughts to say, how can we think about adaptation a little differently? How can we think in maybe new ways? So if your card is strange, it's weird, it answers maybe no question at all that you have, but raises a whole lot of new questions, we hope it inspires you to think a little bit further as we go along through the day. With this, I'd like to say a last thing, and that is Salim, who used to be here, said one challenge to all of you, and for those of you who have been at D&C Days, you know exactly what's going to come now. But for those of you who are new, this is your challenge. Can we challenge you to speak to at least 3 people today? Usually D&C Days was 2 days. Now we're upping the challenge a little, it's 1 day, but it's still 3 people. Can you speak to 3 people today in a meaningful way, can be short, that you had not known before? Is there anyone here who will not find 3 people? Yes, very good. So there are no excuses. So with this, I'd like to say, enjoy, reach out to each other. We're hoping for candid and kind conversations today. Over to you, Aditya.
Tasha Q. Idrich, Bettina, and volunteers. I hope I got that right. Dhanyavad in my own language. All right, so moving swiftly on. Last year, we lost Salim ul Haq, Salim Bhai, as many of us knew him. This year, we had another tragedy when our beloved family member, Pablo Suarez, left us earlier in this year. This was, of course, an incredible tragedy for his family, for the Red Cross, Red Crescent Climate Center, but also for all of us that are part of the Adaptation and Resilience community and the Development and Climate Days family. Salim and Pablo were really the 2 leading lights, the 2 people who inspired and made the D&C Days what they are, apart from, of course, being mentors to so many of us in this room today. The personality of the Development and Climate Days is very closely entwined, in my view, with the personality of Pablo. It's a space of warmth and conviviality, which are the 2 words that come first to my mind when I think of Pablo. My memory of every COP is getting very tight bear hugs from Pablo whenever he saw me. Pablo was a man of incredible honesty, integrity, collegiality, and I'm hoping that this is also a space of honesty and integrity. Let's push ourselves to have frank conversations. Let's not market our institutions and programs, but let's engage with each other in a meaningful way. Pablo always pushed the boundaries of how he thought about existing paradigms, about what was groupthink, and I hope the D&C Days will continue to push the boundaries of thinking more creatively or to find solutions to the climate crisis. Most of all, Pablo was an incredibly fun person. So let's remind ourselves to have a bit of fun through the Development and Climate Days. I feel like Salim Bhai and Pablo are up there somewhere, having a coffee, looking down upon us right now. So we owe it to them to make today a grand success. We're going to play a short video. Those of you who know Pablo will recognize the spark that was Pablo in these images and the video that you're going to see. Those of you who did not will understand through this the impact that he's had on this movement. Pablo is a light that continues to inspire all of us, and it's our responsibility to make sure that we help continue to bring his vision to life. All right. It's now my pleasure to invite Dr. Tom Mitchell, who's the director of the International Institute for Environment and Development, who's going to walk us through the program for the day.
Thank you, Aditya, and what a tough moment to come after as well. I'm sure everybody here will remember with huge fun and education the games that Pablo brought to this process as well. And standing here, isn't it incredible that kind of 2 years in a row at D&C Days, we honor and remember both Salim and Pablo. But in doing so, I also want to do something that Salim did on every occasion that I was ever at D&C Days, which was recognizing that this is a space, deliberate space, where we can challenge each other, where we can step outside of the negotiations, where we can be completely honest. And as a symbol of that, have to take the tie off. This is not a place for the tie. So I'd encourage anybody wearing the tie to take it off for a moment. So in that sense, it is an opportunity, and a deliberate opportunity for you to say and talk and share about the things that are the topics that you wouldn't necessarily be raising in the blue zone in a UNFCCC session. The opportunity to really speak as honestly as possible, and hopefully in a space of trust where you can feel safe. But until we do so, we're not going to necessarily honor the legacy of Salim and Pablo in this process. I think the second thing I wanted to say is that we designed the program here at D&C Days to acknowledge that there's a different experience possible. And the experience possible is that you can choose one of these amazing topics and you can stay with it throughout the day. It's not about jumping from session to session, running around between different pavilions. You can stay in the same room for the full day and really get to grips with a particular topic. And you'll be staying there through the different parallel sessions. And so you can choose to pick one of these areas, stick with it, work with it, learn hopefully, and also offer your contribution. Now, but of course, it's completely possible to jump between sessions. But if you're one of those people who would get saying, oh, I've got a fear of missing out because I'm not in that session and I'd love to be, there's 2 or 3 things that really do excite me, we will make sure we are videoing sessions, we're having a full record of the day, and then we'll come back in the closing so you can hear and learn about what you may have missed. So don't fear that you'll be missing something. There'll be a great opportunity to pick up on it. So that's the kind of the sense of the format here. The other thing is that we're peppering the day with breaks, with lunch, with opportunities for you to connect with each other. This, as Bettina said, is the chance to meet some people that you might find new collaborations with as well. That's very much in this spirit. So please do find those connections. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hear a little pitch from the people who are the conveners of these sessions for the day, the kind of theme gurus, who are going to try and advertise to you why you should stick with them throughout the day. So my understanding is that we've previously treated this as a little bit of a kind of a competition. I'm not sure it's supposed to be a competition, but I understand there's going to be a little bit of ingenuity coming up. So let me first start with Robin Mearns. Robin, I'd like to invite you to the front to talk to decolonising climate finance. Then we'll hear from Sylvie Wobes from FAO on accountability for the Paris goals. Then we'll hear from Aditya on game-changing ideas for adaptation. And then we will hear from Bettina on out-of-the-box solutions. So if you'll come up to the stage and do your pitches to the audience for why they should join your session.
Thanks very much, Tom. So I'm Robin Mearns, Director of Social Development at the World Bank. It's both a pleasure and also a moment of sadness for me. It's a great pleasure to be back at D&C Day after well over 10 years, but we have had long association with D&C Day. The last several D&C Days that I attended, both Salim and Pablo, who are both old and close friends of mine, were alive and well. So that's, of course, the sadness. But I think in order to honor them, let's take forward the conversations in the spirit that they intended. So this is the second year in a row that the World Bank is co-leading on this theme of decolonizing climate finance together with IIED. Now, I completely get the irony of a pale, hopefully not too stale, mail from an international finance institution here to talk to you about somehow decolonizing climate finance. But I hope that it shows our deep commitment to addressing the challenges that we all care about so deeply. So what are they? Well, it's about barriers to accessing climate finance faced by those that need it the most. Too often, we're seeing fragmented, sector-based, and restricted funding that's available. We need to bring it all together, get it to scale. We see huge power imbalances in decision-making and lack of voice of local organizations and those working on the front lines of climate action. And really inspired by Laurel's Kiyuvo's speech this morning, completely agree with every single word you said. And that's the spirit in which we approach this. For me, the challenge really is about connecting the bottom up with the top down. We're never going to get to scale unless the top-down bits of the international climate finance architecture are actually able to connect with the bottom-up. And that's where I see our role from the World Bank side, because we convene, we can work with governments and those that are sort of holding the purse strings of some of the biggest sources of climate finance and make sure that it does connect. That's what we are deeply committed to. So the sessions in this track aim to generate an honest and very frank discussion about these challenges and proposed actions. So in the first session, we're going to have a deep dive into what it means to decolonize climate finance in practice for different actors, such as indigenous peoples, and in different settings, such as in low-income countries or fragile and conflict-affected settings. And for a variety of organizations, including the World Bank, many CSOs and others. In the second session, we're going to pivot to talking about fragile and conflict-affected settings, such as Ukraine, the Middle East, and the role of the humanitarian sector to really shine a light on some of the local realities of financing climate action in these fragile and conflict-affected settings. And FCV, as we say, fragile conflict-affected settings, it increases the complexity many, many times of the challenges that we're trying to address, dealing with things like even more limited absorptive capacity of institutions, very short time horizons, a constantly evolving and changing actor landscape, and very complex political economies. And then finally, in the third session, we're very privileged to have indigenous peoples and youth lenses to discuss just what financing the just in just transition actually means. We talk a lot about how climate change disproportionately impacts the poorest, the most marginalized groups and communities. But it's really crucial to recognize that it's actually climate action that often risks having unintended consequences for justice and for effective action. I was tremendously energized by your words, Laurel, and let's take this forward. So please join track 1, Decolonizing Climate Finance.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sylvie Wamps. I'm from the FAO. I've been also a long-term partner. My institution are working on emergency and resilience, a long-term partner and supporter of D&C Day. Great fan, individually and institutionally. It's an honor to be here today with all of you. And I'm introducing these themes co-led by IIED and us in FAO on accountability to the Paris Agreement. Accountability, we're trying to pitch it, and again referring, Laurel, to your excellent intro, where accountability has been quite central to your talk. Thinking of accountability in this, what does it really mean, accountability? For whom, for what, towards who? Is it because of finance? Is it because of the climate action? Is it individual level? Is it to donors? So we're going to have 3 sessions where we're going to try to look a bit and unpack the meanings we do all have, the interpretation, because together with accountability comes inclusion, participation, justice, equity. Transparency is really the work used in UNFCCC. Reporting, tracking, monitoring, it's really a big bag. Okay, we try to unpack it a little bit together, seeing it in a 2-way flow, accountability vis-à-vis who, contributing or really led by whom. So that's really at the core of these 3 interlinked sessions, where each of these sessions is going to have one aspect of it. We cannot unpack the whole suite of accountability discussion in one day, but at least we can touch on some element. And the first session is really deep dive into transparent and inclusive accountability, reflection and perspective from local to global. So it's really trying to connect this 2-way flow and linking really the grassroots successes and the UNFCCC mechanism. The second session is called Soft Power of Accountability, Mobilizing Non-State Actor in Climate Action. And the language non-state actor is really one of the other UNFCCC process compared to the state actor. So it's really the voice of all of us in the room, really, with not a government official negotiation role. And in that session, we're trying to look at the principles of a locally led adaptation, but together with also the Sharm Adaptation Agenda non-state actor partners that are trying to track progress. Are we really progressing towards adaptation and resilience? Where are we? Does that make sense, what we're looking at? We all keep on hearing there's new metrics in adaptation and resilience, that we don't have one common set of solutions, or it's too many solutions, and therefore it has to be context specifics, and we can't have a simple metrics like greenhouse gas sequestration, CO2 measurement. So the third session is going to be measuring progress, tracking and aligning, together with financial flows towards resilience and adaptation. And that's going to link us up on this idea of tracking with the finance. And we all heard that this COP is called the Finance COP, and a new goal, a new collective quantified goal on climate finance is being discussed to try to raise the level of finance to be mobilized to address the climate crisis. But again, do we need only climate finance? Can't we just think about all finance being climate risk informed? And for whom and by whom? So this is going to be some of the little appetizer for this very critical discussion. We look forward to have you. Even if you don't want to follow the 3 sessions, it is absolutely fine, because this year, all sessions are filmed and recorded. So what you miss on one, you can attend or check at it on the later on. Of course, you will not be able to participate, but you can catch up on that. So looking forward to have this discussion with you. Thank you.
We will adapt you. All together.
We will adapt you.
Once more.
We will adapt you.
Keep going. Keep it up, drummers. That's it. Buddies, you all have fine minds, striving for change, gonna make it right. Got the vision, got the drive. Let's all now ignite the fight, singing we will
adapt you.
Again.
We
will adapt you. So session 3 is calling you. Why perceptions are the key. Find new ways to fund action intersectionally. We
will adapt you. We will adapt you.
Right, keep it going, quieten down.
So join us for track 3, game-changing adaptation ideas. The first one at 11:15 a.m. We will share insights on why subjective perceptions for climate change are absolutely essential for making the right adaptation decisions. Then at 1:45, learn about business unusual climate finance. This is about how LDCs are transforming capacities for accessing climate finance. At 3:45, we have our amazing session on intersectionality and adaptation. Everybody knows about intersectionality. Learn how to do it.
We
will adapt you.
Last time.
We will adapt you.
This is when my co-presenters flee the stage. Very good. There is a last theme. If you have feeling exhausted, frustrated, and maybe a little depressed in the past week, maybe just before the song, maybe it's better now. If you feel you would like to be less frowny, maybe less confused, and possibly a little more happy, then you can join the out-of-the-box sessions. We'll promise you no PowerPoint. We'll promise you no panel. And we'll promise you that there is an opportunity for you to take a lot of risk. We'll promise you no one is forced to sing. So, you can join our session and take as much risk as you would like, or bow out and observe if you prefer. The first session is exploring positive visions for adaptation. Can we imagine where we would like to go when we adapt, and not what would we like to run away from? With this, we will world premiere the first ever bizarre breakout rooms. And if you want to know what this is all about, there are different designs, then you can come to the first out-of-the-box session, which will happen right here on stage, but you do not have to perform. Then the second session will be around using cardboard theater to tell your own stories. We'll have a bit of a work session, there's a bit of a warm-up, and we will work with you to share some of your stories. It's a storytelling technique that is quite powerful using cardboard theater. So if this is something that interests you, it's the second session. And the third session of the out-of-the-box session, all sessions happening here in this room, is the great finance debate. If you feel like you want to get active and have the hard-hitting arguments, vice versa, join us for the great finance debate also here in session 3. And having said this, because the nature of the out-of-the-box session is very interactive, we'd like to limit it to maximum 30 people. So if you'd like to be here, that's perfect. If you see the group is full, then we hope to see you in the next out-of-the-box session. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks a lot for that, Bettina. That's the opening plenary. I'm going to now invite Amy to tell you what happens next and go through a few housekeeping rules.
Thank you, Aditya. Hello, everybody. I'm Amy. I'm the event manager for D&C Days. Looking forward to meeting all of you today. You'll see me running around mostly. Just a few quick notes for you before we go to coffee. So we have some programs printed out in the lobby. These are quite simplified versions of the program. If you want to see the program in more detail, there's a QR code on the back of your badge. You can just scan that and you can see the full detailed up-to-date program. As Bettina said, we've got a few volunteers with us today. Can volunteers give a little wave? I think there's a few around the room, some are out in the check-in desk. These are fantastic volunteers that have come from local universities who are here to help us. They're going to be in the sessions, in the breaks, at the check-in desk. They've come with like a lot of passion and energy and excitement for this, and they're here to network and they're here to learn. So please do make time to have a chat with a volunteer at some point today. And yeah, look out for them. They'll be supporting in your sessions. We, as organisers, are wearing blue badges, so you can, if you have any questions, if you need anything, you can come and ask any of us. We'll look forward to chatting to you. Speaking of badges, we hope you stay all day, but if you do need to leave early, if you can return your badge and lanyard, then we can reuse it. Thank you. Wi-Fi, if you just go onto the Radisson guest network and click complimentary access, you don't need a password. Should be very easy. Let us know if you have any problems. We're now going to go to coffee. So coffee breaks will be out here in the lobby where you came in. Later, we'll have a lunch break down on the ground floor. After coffee, we'll go into our first set of breakout sessions, and then we're in breakout sessions for the rest of the day until we come back for the closing plenary. The breakout rooms are just out to the lobby and left. They're all down that one corridor, but the out-of-the-box session will be in here on the stage. Please help us keep to time today. Arrive to your sessions as soon as you can. The rooms will fill up. We can't guarantee your place in your session, so do arrive early if you're keen to be in that session. And please just help us keep to time by leaving those sessions on time as well. I know there's a lot to talk about, but we do have plenty of time in the breaks, in the evening reception, so just kind of let's work together to kind of keep the day moving. That's all from me. Enjoy your coffee, and we will see you again later. Thank you.